It's me, Geordie Pete Redding on Soccer Saturday with Hollywood Balls. A very happy new year to one and all. Hope you get all that you wish for in 2022. That could be a one-way return to Milan from Chelsea. Could be such a damn fine winger that you get to play for England. Or it could be that you win 16 World Championships playing darts. Well, we're going to find out about the second two. Welcome to Hollywood Balls. Okay, today's show is presented by Manscaped, and as we turn our attention to the new year, our partners turn their attention to Valentine's Day already. So be a winner with that special bloke in your family this year. Use Hollywood Balls for your 20% discount. Log on to manscaped.com. Okay, before we meet our special guest today, let me say a very special 2022 welcome to the main man, my brother-in-arms, Super Kevin Campbell. How are you, Kev?
Pete, I am absolutely buzzing. I'm so pleased. Made it to another year. Very grateful, especially with what's happening in the world today, Pete.
Sure.
We've got our health. That's all we could really ask for, mate.
Good stuff. Okay, so joining us today, a man who hit the bullseye on the pitch domestically and internationally. See what I did there? It's the mighty Matt Jarvis. Also a man who's used to being introed by you, Geordie. It's only Phil the Power Taylor. Welcome, gents. Matty, we're going to start with you, Matt. Let's get this out the way first. A, do you support the borough? And B, can you play table tennis?
Okay, well, first of all, my dad is born and bred borough, so up the borough. He loves it. But for me, no, I was born in Middlesbrough, but I was 2 weeks old when I moved down south, and unfortunately, no, I wasn't a borough fan.
Okay, but can you play table tennis?
I could play a little bit, yeah. Obviously being a youngster, I didn't get pushed into it, but my mum and dad were pretty good, so I've got something in the genes.
They needed it. I thought, well, it's not just flying wingers for England; it's table tennis family as well. Brilliant, Phil. A massive welcome to Hollywood Balls. Happy New Year to you.
And you.
Brilliant to have you. Brilliant to have you on the show. Let's take it way back. Is it true that someone bought you some darts and shoved you into the local pub? Is that how it all started?
My wife at the time bought me some darts for my birthday. That's how it started, because nobody really knew I could play darts in them days. And there was a fellow, we went out one night, and Eric was playing an exhibition at the Crafty Cockney. And we hadn't been out, because we had children, didn't have a lot of money then. So very, very rare we went out. And I said to Yvonne then, I said, I could have beat him when I was 15. She said, you don't play darts? I said, I used to do. I used to play when I was young. A little bit of a hustler, to be quite honest with you. And I was good at it. And that's how it started.
And it did start. We're going to get onto that. It's an incredible journey. Some great tales in there. And more so, just you and I chatting this week as well. We've covered a lot. And we found out, as we'll touch on, that it's a very small world indeed. We'll get on to that. Kev, after this show, it's the ultimate. If that's not better enough than having Matt Jarvis and Phil the Power on our show. But it's a huge test for the Gunners today, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, Pete. But, ultimately what you really want is you need to be tested against the best. And, Phil, he reckoned he could beat Eric Bristow when he was a youngster.
Yeah.
And that's what you've got to do. You've got to pit your wits against the best in order to be the best. So if this young Arsenal squad wants to improve and get better, they've got to take down some of the big boys at some stage. So I say bring it on, Pete, because this Arsenal side have been improving.
I think it's exciting, though, Kev, for the youngsters. I mean, there's certain names already being mentioned, as our press do. There's talk about Saka. What's amazing for these young lads is that that's how highly they're rated. So if Arsenal can keep that together, they've got a very exciting 2022 coming up, haven't they?
Yep, they really need to keep it together, Pete. Look, it's flattering when your youngsters start getting linked with Liverpool and City and all these type of teams. That's all great, but it all boils down to doing the business when it matters. And Arsenal have a great opportunity to take on Man City, champions, 8 points clear. if they beat them to make it interesting again. I'm sure some of the other teams who are there are praying Arsenal could get something out of the game.
Absolutely. Matt, we've done that with Phil. Going to come to you as well. It started how it started. Gillingham. And when I was doing my research on you, Matt, you talk very fondly of them, and you had a sort of a career that launched very quickly, and it was sort of you were here, then you were there, and then it was just up and up and up. But do you see Gillingham as a real catalyst? They were a real platform for your career.
Definitely. Well, for me, it nearly finished before it started. I was at Millwall for 7 years, and then got released at 16 trying to get a youth team contract. Yeah. And then got taken over to Gillingham, and to be honest, I was useless on trial, but they obviously saw something in me, and for me, it's as Kev probably, well, everyone, I was a confidence player, and as soon as I got into Gillingham, I felt great. The team around me, and it just went. And my second year in the youth team, I was playing in the first team, and I never looked back. I've got massively fond memories of the place, and they gave me that opportunity to make it as a professional.
Was Paul Scally chairman then?
He was, yeah.
A regular visitor to Dubai.
Yeah.
I think he's got his own suite at the Jumeirah Beach Hotel, Scally.
Yeah, well, he put a bet on, or did a thing that he said to me before I left. He said that I would play for England before I was 24, or before I was 25, or something like that. And he was right, but he didn't let me go very easily. That's for sure.
That doesn't sound like him. Phil, I've got to come to you because listen. It's been nuts this week since we put the flyer out that Phil the Power was coming on the show. I've had messages from every corner of the world, so I'm going to try and get through as many as I can. I've got to say hello to Matt Slater. Matt he's been on I've never heard from him for months, and then he's been on every day this week. Can you do this? Can you ask Phil that? Can you do this? And then I had another couple on, Roz, who's followed you all around the country when you were playing. And then Paul Jerry, who's in Africa, he's watching. Paul, how are you? He's just said to me, do you know what you, Geordie Pete, and Phil the Power have got in common? And I said, no. He said, you've both played at the Stadium of Light. And so I said, okay, we'll move on swiftly from the Sunderland one. But we could chat football with you. But unfortunately, your team are one of the ones that can't play today. Port Vale were due at Harrogate. How are Vale doing?
I think they're doing okay. I haven't been to watch them this season at all. But they seem to be all right. I mean, we're in the playoff area, so I think we need just a couple of wins, and then the teams above us to lose, if you know what I mean, or draw.
Yeah, but again, we'll come on to that. There's a couple of famous Port Vale supporters that we can touch on later on.
Yeah.
Kev, I wanted to touch on something that's in the news today, and it's made the news, so it's not like we can avoid it. But Chelsea, it's not going too well, and then all they needed was Mr. Lukaku coming out, given it that he's. I don't think he quite said he was unhappy, but I think it's a retrospect interview where he said that he was happy in Milan and didn't want to come to Chelsea, but now that's surfaced, it's on a bit nuts, hasn't it?
Yeah, and you know what, Pete? These things tend to come out when the team are struggling. They never come out when the team's winning. You saw them flying earlier on in the season, and there was nothing. All of a sudden, they go for a little bit of a sticky patch, and these type of things start coming out. If I'm honest with you, Pete, I understand some of what he was saying. Obviously, he was having a great time at Inter. He loved it there. To say that he could see himself going back isn't a slight on Chelsea. This is just the way players feel. But I think the thing that maybe has got people a bit bent out of shape is him saying that he's been bought for this money and the manager's changed the system, but he'll be professional. He doesn't like it. But you tell me, listen, I'm part of the strikers union, mate. If you sign us to play striker, you've got to build that team to get the best out of the striker. What's the point in changing the system so it doesn't suit Lukaku? That to me doesn't make sense. So I think that's an internal thing that they're going to have to sort out. But they're going to have to sort it out very quick, Pete.
Okay. Phil, I wanted to ask you, Kev's just mentioned Chelsea there. They were on an unbeaten run. Now, speaking of unbeaten runs, this has always fascinated me. there was a period where you went 8 years like unbeaten. I mean, it's just, I mean,
did.
it's mad. But can I ask you honestly, did you? I know it's a stock phrase in most sport, but was it literally? Did you take it one match at a time, or were you thinking?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
I never
You
even
never.
knew I was playing in the second round half the time. I just focused on the person that I was playing, and then
Yeah.
each year I was just kept getting to the finals, and then thinking, you can win it again. So that's what I did. It was actually a relief when I got beat by John Park, because people
Yeah.
start getting bored of you and start disliking you because
Yeah.
you're winning all the time. Even the commentators were saying, "Are you not bored of winning all the time?" I was like, "No."
No.
And then I know, but it was like a relief. And then I won it again. Then the year after, which made up for it. But I shouldn't have never
Did-
lost that final against John Park. I'll be honest. I was
No.
gutted. I mean,
And,
looking back now,
and
I'm thinking there's 2 or 3 finals there. I should have never lost. Barney was another one. I should have never been beaten by Barney. I chucked it away. But that's life, isn't it? You know what I mean? If you're not 100% concentrating, it's like what Kevin's just said. You've got to play the best people, so you know how good you are. You don't know how good you are until you play the best.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Speaking of playing at the best, Matt, you made it straight to England. It was an amazing journey. Was that the pinnacle for you? The Three Lions.
100%. I don't think to play for your country anytime for anything is just the pinnacle for me. And the way I did it as well, I didn't make any of the the youth team England squads. I didn't go for the 21s. I sort of built myself up through the leagues and played in the Premier League, and then was at Wolves when we were fighting sort of for the relegation. To then get in the England squad was a huge achievement at the time. So absolutely the pinnacle of my career playing for the country, and I couldn't have picked a better one either. Playing at Wembley, I could have been anywhere in the world, but I managed to get the one that was at Wembley
Amazing.
against Ghana. So it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Phil, you were saying about that winning mentality and people getting bored, but was it Eric that drove that into you? Because I've read a couple of times that he would tell you not to phone him, or he would ask you why you were calling if you hadn't won.
He'd say, "Why are you playing?" We used to have little tournaments you entered at weekends, like £10 entry fee, and then 500 or £1,000 for the win. He'd say, "Let me know how you got on." So I'd stop at about 20 phone boxes because most of them were broken on the way home. Finally get through, and I can even remember his number: 01538 386 277. That was his number. And he said, "Have you got on?" I'd say, I got beat in the final." "Well, don't ring me until you win it then." So then I wouldn't ring him, and then he'd tell me off for it. He'd give me a rollicking. But he made me... The mentality of winning was my mum and dad. They were the ones who kept pushing me all the time. My mother especially. You could work 7 days a week for 12 months. And if he said, "I'm going to have a day off," you'd get a bucket of water chucked on you. You get up and get off work, you're lazy. So. But Eric was the one that made me into a winner. I was good, and I knew I could do it, but I hadn't got that mentality of winning. And he just kept on and on and on at me all the time. Every time if I was sitting down and he walked in, I'd get up and start practicing. In fact, other players were saying, "Eric's walking in, get up." So, he'd say, "What are you doing sitting down there talking to him and him and him? They're not your mates. Get on that dartboard. I don't sponsor you for sitting there talking." And he was
Amazing.
right.
Amazing.
Yeah, I wanted to strangle him a few times, don't get me wrong, but he was spot on.
Oh, good stuff. Kev, similar for you. I mean, I would imagine George Graham just driving people on. Was George the same?
Yeah, 100%. Look, there was no time for rest. It was all about not only learning your craft, but perfecting your craft. And Pete, I tell you this, Matt will tell you, and Phil, obviously, I mean, 8 years unbeaten. Let me tell you something. It is hard to win. It really is hard to win. Fans think it's easy to win. It is hard to win, but win consistently is even harder. So being in that mindset and having a leader to drive you, because when you're young, you don't realize what it takes. You need good people around you to keep you on that straight and narrow, keep you on that track to be able to win. And George Graham was that catalyst at the Arsenal for sure.
Amazing. And I do this on a weekend, and I'm so blessed to be able to, Kevin, more often than not, you join me, and we take for granted, what a career you've had. But all these different people that come on and tell their stories it's absolutely fascinating. Matt, coming back to you, another friend of Hollywood Balls and friend of mine, often see him in Dubai. Big Sam. I can
my
imagine.
mate, Sam.
Yeah, Big Sam, great,
Big
absolutely
Sam's my
brilliant.
pal.
I get the best of him, Phil, because when he comes out to Dubai, it's for a meal and a beer. So I haven't witnessed him in the dressing room, Matt. I bet that's something to picture, is it?
Well, funny enough, we used to have nice little trips to Dubai if we were out of the cup or something
He
like that.
loves a
warm
trip
weather
to Dubai. I
training.
think he's here now.
Yeah, well, he never used to stay with us. Him and his wife used to go somewhere else. But anyway, he, as a manager in the change rooms, to be honest, don't get me wrong, he had that, authority of, like you said, if he walked into a room, he was, he's huge, isn't he? And he just had that aura about him. But he only lost his cool a few times. He wasn't as bad as everyone sort of thinks, in the sense that, he would go mad at certain points, but he was never throwing cups of tea and all that sort. But he certainly knew what he wanted and how to get it, and every single player knew that. So you had that respect, and you gave everything for him. You just made sure you did it. Otherwise, you then weren't playing, and then it was hard to get back in.
Absolutely. It's amazing to hear. Kev, I don't know why I'm so late to the party on this, but I've just started watching the Class of '92, but the series where the boys have taken over at Salford, and watching the changing room, they had that unique scenario, Kev, where they have two managers at the time of the series that I'm watching, and they take it in turns, so it's like tag team. There's fisticuffs in there amongst each other. They're throwing each other's bags round. They love each other at half time, and then they're coming in and they're belting each other. It's real stuff, and it's a fascinating watch. And a big shout out to Leo Pearlman, who we know from Fulwell 73, who directed that. It's a fascinating watch for fans. Have you seen much of it?
Yeah, it is fascinating. But, any of these fly on the wall type things where you go behind the scenes, it's warts and all, isn't it? That's the thing. They've obviously moved on from there, but in order to get to where they've got to, you have to go through the different stages. And non-league at the time and the fisticuffs are all part and parcel. Hug each other after and go and have a beer. That's one of them. It's really good viewing.
It is. It's absolutely fantastic. Lots of people to say hi to. Ronnie's in the house. Nice to see you. Hope you got your Christmas present. Courtesy. I don't know if you did or not, so I don't want to spoil it, but I'm sure you did. Hope it was a great time. Thomason's in the house as well. Lovely to have him along. Happy New Year to you. I've got to give a big shout out, Kev. You might want to put your fingers in your ears for this one, but I've got to give a big shout out. Chatting this week to a Spurs fan on Twitter. I know. Called Joanne. Now, Joanne likes to dabble on a weekend accumulator, and she's got this new thing that is winning for her. It hasn't been recently, but she swears by it. And I said I would give her a mention. She takes Harry Kane and Son to score, and then swaps it back that they both assist each other. And she said it's worked a few times, and it worked the very first time it worked against the Arsenal. So I said I would give her a special mention. That's her go-to bet.
Thanks so much, Pete.
We'll move swiftly on from that.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, yeah, indeed. Matt, I wanted to say to you, when you get that call for the Three Lions, what does it entail for a fan? We can only dream of that. So, how did it unfold? Because was it totally unexpected, or did you think that someone had been in your ear and said there's a possibility? How did it all come about?
Yeah, I knew I was in the preliminary squad, which was like a 30-man squad, and then we just played Aston Villa away. It was the early kickoff on the Saturday, and I scored, and we won 1-0. So I knew I had a chance, but to be honest, I wasn't expecting it. And it wasn't a call. I got a text message about, 45 minutes, half an hour before it got released on Sky Sports News. And then, you just you're sort of looking now, I'm thinking, someone's having a wind up, someone's winding me up here. And I sort of waited a little bit, and then I got a call, and it was someone from the FA saying, look, it's not a wind up, this is good. And then it just sort of so surreal. I remember just standing in my kitchen, just with my wife, just going like, this is incredible. And then you sort of got to get your head round, like, I'm going in the next day, to meet up with all the lads, and I don't really know any of them, but I've obviously played against them for years, but don't really know them like that. So you sort of back to that first day at school where you don't really know what to do, where to sit, who to talk to, that sort of thing.
I've often wondered about it, and I've often wondered, say for instance that you'd been playing in a game just a couple of weeks back and there was a flare-up. Does that get mentioned when you're all on international duty? Yeah, you were out of order last week at Molineux. What were you playing at?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, everyone's out to win, aren't they? So, I think you've seen it a couple of times in recent years that it can boil over, but everyone, well, as soon as you go to the international, you want to do well for your country, but it's hard when you're fighting against each other every single week. It's very, very enjoyable, and I think you can see now at the moment Southgate's got it in a perfect blend of his players and what they're doing.
Absolutely. Phil, Kev said at the top of the show that it's been, we all want everyone to stay healthy. One of the scenarios in this new world that we're living in was, I was reading that you played darts against Barney, but you were you in your kitchen doing it via your phone?
In my living room. On the wall here. Believe it or not, and the hockey is underneath my settee. So, just push the settee back. We had to set all cameras up. It was good. It was good fun, yeah. It was on a soft tip, but Barney beat me. But I haven't really been playing C for a couple of years because I retired. So I've had a bit of time away from it, and I've enjoyed it, to be honest. Now
I'm getting in my ear. We're working on this retirement business. I've got about 1,600 messages here saying, "When's Phil coming out of retirement?"
No, I couldn't do the travelling now. I'll be honest with you, Pete. It's I was away from home more or less 5-6 days a week, every week, and I wouldn't want to do that again now. Not at my. I mean, I'm 61 now, so this we've got a Legends one which is taking off.
Yes,
you've got the older people, the ones, and it's people you'll know as well because they've been household names for a few years. You know what I mean? I'm watching the World Championship now, and I don't know half the players now. They're all youngsters that have come through. Same for football. There's a lot of players now I've never heard of. I don't know who they are. So it makes it difficult for me if I don't know who they are. It's like Wimbledon. I've lost a little bit of interest in Wimbledon. I love the tennis, but because I don't know the players anymore and the big names are dropping by, it doesn't appeal to me as much.
Pete, I've got a question for Phil. Phil, have you got any funny stories about Sid Waddell? Because he was absolutely brilliant for darts, wasn't he?
Oh, I'll tell you a story. What he did in the pool, the World Pool, and the box where he sits to do his commentary was a bit close to the pool table. So this lad wants one frame to win the World Championship, and he's going for the wrong ball. And he shouts, "He's going for the 8 ball. He's going for the 8 ball. He's forgot about the 7." And then this fella who's got this just about hit the 8 ball, but Luke turned around and went, "Oh yeah, I missed that one." And potted it cleared up. And then actually, imagine his opponent who's sitting there thinking he's going for the wrong ball. I'm going to win this.
Yeah,
there was hell on. It was funny. He did it with me. He was on stage, and I was going for a bullseye for the 9 darter when you have a double in, double out. He wants the ball, and you can hear him. And I looked at the crowd and went, "I know." I loved him. He did me first autobiography, and it was the hardest autobiography I've ever done. 2, and it was, how can you do 2 autobiographies? I've done 1, and then I did another book after. That's stupid, isn't it?
That's brilliant.
And he'll ask you a question, and he answers the question himself, and he'll go from 1961 to 1997, back to 64, back to 2010. He was like flitting about, and he hadn't got a clue what he's talking about. But he also was very, very, very clever man, really clever, genius. Never forgot anything. But was a character. He couldn't put a screw in a piece of wood. You know what I mean? He was one of them. But he could tell you every stat of every game. He was a brilliant lad, honestly. I loved him to bits. He loved me to bits as well. Fair play.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Kev, I wanted to come back and discuss I'm going to come to Matt as well in a moment. But before we get into the transfer window, I wanted to bring up Man United because I know Ralph Rangnick's only been there a minute, but he's had enough time to sort of have a look. And Man United, I thought they would have that new manager bounce, especially with someone mooted like Ralph, who's a bit of a hard taskmaster. But they still seem to be labouring in their play. I mean, I watched them against my team Newcastle, and they were lucky to get a draw, and that's not just me being biased with my black and white specs on. I thought they were very lucky. Do you think that he'll be active in the transfer window as well, Kev?
I mean, you look at their squad, Pete. They've got quality all over the place. But the key is to try and keep everybody happy. It's difficult to try and, you've got players there that spent a lot of money on who aren't getting a game. So do they go into the transfer market? Probably they will, because Ralph Rangnick will see holes in that squad that maybe he thinks he can improve on. They've got the money to do it. But all it really means is will they be selling players as well? I think that's the key. I don't think it's a happy ship there, Pete, if I'm honest with you.
Okay.
I think Newcastle should have beaten Manchester United. Had a great chance to take maximum with the second one, which probably fell to his wrong foot. And obviously Cavani came off the bench and equalised. But I thought Newcastle were good value in that game. There's a lot of work to do at Manchester United to get them to where they need to be. And I think you're right, Pete. I think Ralph Rangnick will go into the transfer market to try and fill a couple of the holes where they're not as strong.
Matt, what's it like as a player? I mean, it can be, if it's speculation, does it get to you? I mean, it's that period now that back when I first started watching football, there was no transfer window as such, but now it's like literally A and B. And there's that period where everything ramps up through the TV. I mean, there's the famous Sky Sports News on deadline day. It's quite a big deal now, isn't it?
Yeah, huge. I mean, you tell me a player that doesn't watch Sky Sports News and transfer deadline day. It's incredible watch. But there's all of that. I think for instance, you talk about United. I think they'll be selling players before they bring in players in. I don't think he knows the not maybe the formation, but the team. I don't think he knows who blends well with each other. I think he's still tinkering with that. He's saying about Ronaldo and Fernandes and different partnerships. I think that's where he's struggling. But for players, if you're playing, you're not wanting to move anywhere. If you're not, you're wanting to move, or you're trying to look for a loan move. So when you come up to these windows, it's all about if you're happy where you are at the moment. If you're playing and you've got no interest in moving, it's a great transfer window because you're just watching all the speculation and the Sky Sports News and all the gossip columns to see who's going to your club, as long as they're not coming in your position. That's the only thing. If you're playing every week and then you keep getting linked with a left winger, you're like, hold on a minute, what's going on? That's my position. That's where I'm playing. I don't want someone coming into my position. So it's a good time to be a player that you get an opportunity to try and go somewhere else, especially, for instance, if there's a Euros or World Cup or some competition that you're looking to get yourself into, like Lingard did. Really, it was the perfect move for him at the time.
Yeah.
But it's now that you've got two focused areas, that you've got two transfer windows, you're trying to build yourself up to do whichever one you feel like you need to go for.
And Kev, there's an element now that not just the main names this window, but the focus will firmly be up behind me, the area there at St James's Park, Tyneside. Amanda and the gang that money will be burning because they need to get some business and get it done quick.
Yep, they need quality in that team at the football club, and let's be honest, Pete, they've got the budget to do it now. So. They're already being linked with Kieran Trippier today. They've made a bid. And I could see more quality players getting brought in because Newcastle cannot afford to go down, Pete. They can't. So they're going to have to buy quality players to make sure that doesn't happen.
They need a forward now as well, because whisper it quietly, I know he's well favoured at Newcastle and we all love him. He's a great centre forward. But he is tended to be quite injury prone. Callum Wilson's out for possibly 2 or 3 months. So, it takes that sort of dynamic from looking at structuring the back four, which obviously needs doing, but now they need a goal scorer again, maybe 2.
Yeah, I think 2. You need two strikers or one striker and a forward who's going to help out. And you need to really shore up that defense and midfield, Pete. So, Pete, look, you need a whole new team. Let's get it right. You need a whole new team.
Me too.
It's not going to be as easy as you think, though. It's really not.
No.
It's really not. Even with the money, it's not as easy as you think.
That's my worry, Matt. Is that players now. I have this argument with my father. He's like, yeah, we can get there, and I'm saying, but players now don't think it. They're thinking very individually. How it could harm their future steps. For instance, if someone's playing in Europe, or does it affect them with their international career? No one's going to, A, do they want to jump into a relegation battle, Matt, or B, even worse, do they want to drop down a division?
Yeah.
It's not like that. Keegan did that the first time around when he sold the dream to John Beresford and Rob Lee, but it's a bit different now.
I totally agree. You've got to pick the right player individually, and it's going to be a difficult one for all of them reasons that you've said. Players are they going to want to just come on loan and just see whether see what happens by the end of the season. But you need to be signing players that have got something to prove, and that there's an opportunity there for them to really bounce back into the Premier League or to reinvent their career, and it's going to be a very difficult window.
Absolutely. Phil, you mentioned there, you were saying before that you don't know anyone who's playing darts now. It's a bit like the snooker as well. But that catalyst's still there, even the feel-good factor amongst the fans. I mean, it must be so easy when you're close to it to get caught up in all of that, the music, the song. I went to the darts at your friend's Dave Catnack Irish Village when it was on there.
Yeah.
And literally, that song was in my head for about 6 days afterwards. It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, they do. They enjoy themselves, I've got to admit. I mean, you get some characters, obviously, the dressing up and all that kind of stuff. But the dart fans do come out for enjoy themselves, and by jibbity do they ever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the VIP's the worst, believe it or not. Honestly, the things I could tell you story, I won't, but I could tell you some stories that goes on. Yeah. The Irish Village, I remember, because all the tables at the front had paid, I think, something like £500 a ticket, and there was like bottles of brandy, bottles of vodka, bottles of this, all part of the package. And Barry Ian said, "What do you think?" I said, "Who's on last tonight?" He went, "You." I said, "What? What do you think them lot are going to be like at 11 o'clock tonight?" Do you know what I mean? I was dreading it, and true to my word, they were proper loud. They really were. It's not a massive venue, the Irish Village. It's a tennis court.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
well, as you know, but it was good atmosphere there.
What I will say, Phil, it was a great tournament, but it was what we called a 3-dayer. Phoning in sick for 3 days after the event. It was literally get your head down because it was a long old day. Absolutely brilliant. Kev,
I love Dubai. One of my, if not my favourite place in the world. It's beautiful. I remember Molly lived over there. She's a friend from Hull. And she's Joe Longthorne's niece, Molly is. Remember Joe Longthorne? And somebody had left a camera outside on a bench. And the Irish Village, I said, "Oh, somebody's left the camera there." She says, "Yeah, it'd be fine." I said, "Are you sure? Are you not going to give it the organizer?" No, nobody will touch it. And it never moved. It was weird. When I went out after we played, it was still on the table. Stoke, the table would have been gone. Didn't mind the camera.
Brilliant. So, Matt, you're just coming back to you, and one of your old sides as well, who were going so well, West Ham. I just wanted to touch on them briefly.
Yeah.
They need a little bit. They're just looking a little bit on the ropes currently. They've got a big test as well this weekend. They've just lost a little bit of that mojo, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, they were playing so well. I mean, every single player. You look about consistency. You want someone 7 and 8. They were all 8 and 9s this season. They've just all been flying. The formation, the shape, everything about the way that David Moyes has set up the team, it's just worked. They've had a little bit of a dip and a few not as not consistent wins, and I think that they just need that little extra spark from someone that's going to come in in the window. Obviously, Antonio's been exceptional this season, but he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders to do everything for the team. He does all of the the running in behind, the hold-up play, the everything, and he needs to score the goals as well. He just needs someone to just help him out a little bit because they're doing so well in Europe as well. There's so many games they need to just rotate a little bit and take some pressure off him. But they're just having an exceptional year, and everyone's enjoying it, and that you just hope that just continues because if there's ever an opportunity to get into the top four, say top six, there's now. And that's what's going to be in their minds for the transfer window and for the rest of the season.
Brilliant. Phil, we mentioned Port Vale before, so I've got to ask you this one. I was thinking of how we could get the two celebrities in together. So what we've done is we would do a celebrity swap. So could Rob, the first part of it is, can you sing? And the second part is, can Robbie play darts?
Robbie can play darts, yeah. I've been in his house. I had a few games with him. Yeah, he can actually. Not brilliant, but he's okay. Can I sing? Not really. I'm all right. I'll do a bit of karaoke now and again, but I wouldn't break any hearts, that's for sure.
You'd leave the singing to the Ali Pali, will you?
Yeah. Yeah, they do as well. Honestly,
I know it's absolutely. I couldn't believe the singing. It's a real. It was my first tournament to visit the darts, and there were some amazing players to watch, and it was fascinating. But you were torn between watching the crowd, watching the darts, what was going on. It was just an unbelievable day out, and I say day out, day and night out. I
remember turning round on stage, Pete, and seeing Scooby-Doo beating Superman up. Didn't ring right for me. I'm thinking, no, you can't beat Superman up. A dog.
Absolutely incredible. Oh, listen, it's New Year's Day. It's the first Hollywood Balls of 22. So Kev, I'm going to come to you, my trusty partner. We do a thing called Baller of the Week, where we look back at the last 7 days. We can extend it because we've been off over Christmas, enjoying, and we look at someone who's been in the news for all the right reasons. I'd probably say Lukaku won't be featuring this morning on the show.
Well, Pete,
you never know.
You never know.
Kev, I'm going to start with you for the new year. So have you got a Hollywood Baller of the Week for us?
I have, Pete, and it's because he's been much maligned. He's suffered with injuries, etc. But Danny Welbeck Welbeck got the equaliser against Chelsea, and what a header it was as well. I think Brighton have been doing really well this season, and what a result at Stamford Bridge, to equalise. So well done, Danny Welbeck and Brighton.
Always had a great eye for goal, hasn't he? And whenever he comes on, he's a natural finisher, a really, really good player. He's done the rounds, but yeah, fantastic. Matt, I'm going to come to you. Have you got on your debut for Hollywood Balls? Have you got a Baller of the Week for us?
I certainly do. It's one of my former clubs. It's Jared Bowen. He's been exceptional. He got 3 assists the other night as well. Really on the cusp of trying to get an England call up as well. I think his performances this year have been fantastic. So he's my Baller of the Week. Awesome.
Phil, over to you. Have we got a...
No.
Brilliant.
I'll agree with Kevin.
Good stuff. Okay.
Good stuff, Phil.
We're one short. We're one short. I'd like to say that my Baller of the Week is Kev, because Kev, literally, as we move into the new year, it's our 2nd year of Hollywood Balls. Wouldn't have been possible without you and your support, and all of the wonderful guests that join us. But I wanted to name you, so there you go, Super Kevin Campbell, and that's as nice as it's going to get, because it's time to delve into.
It's serious time now.
It's
Pete.
the serious stuff now. So for the gents, Phil and Matt, who are making their Hollywood Balls debut, it's time for the Danny Kwang DK Hot Sauce Predictions Challenge, where we pick a few games that are taking place this weekend, and I mean a few as well, because most of them are off. And we'll pick the scores. The winners can pit themselves against our wonderful guests, Super Kev, Matt Jarvis, and Phil the Power Taylor. And if they get it right, they win a pack of hot sauce. What could be better? And it's guests first, as always. Going to start in the bottom corner with Matt and Arsenal City. Matt's popped his.
So here.
There you go. We're starting with you, mate. Arsenal City for a prediction.
I'm going to go
Score, correct
City.
score. Sorry?
3 City, I'm afraid, Kev.
What was it? 3 what, sorry?
3-1, I'm afraid.
3-1. Okay.
3-1. Okay. Phil?
I think it might be closer game than what people think, because the young Arsenal side are going to try the socks off. But it all depends for me, the first 15, 20 minutes of the game when Man City put the pressure on. I can see Man City winning it. About 3, maybe 4-1.
Okay.
It's going to be close. Hold on.
It's going to be close.
Says it's going to be close, and he's put it 4-1.
I was
going to say 7-1.
And I thought,
That's close. That's close.
Kev, this is a man who's used to big figures on the old.
Yeah, very true, Pete. Very true. Usually it's 5-1. So
I had a late night last night.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, Kev.
You know me. I'm the forever the optimist, and I want the positive result. I'm going. The youngsters are going to surprise everyone. 2-1 to the Arsenal.
Okay, 2-1 to the Arsenal. I've gone 2-1 to Man City. In the house today, we've got Samantha, Danny, Scotty, and Jace Edwards. Happy New Year to you all. Sam's gone 3-1 to Manchester City. Danny's taken a 2-2 draw. Scotty's taken 1-0 to City. And Jace Edwards has taken 3-1. This next one intrigues me because I think it's going to be a tough one. Matt, we've got Crystal Palace and West Ham. Your old club.
Yeah, I think Palace are just they're playing well at the moment as well, and West Ham just. But I'm sort of torn a little bit between like going 1-1 or 2-1 West Ham. So I think I'm going to have to go for the 2-1 West Ham. I think it'll be a very, very tough game, but 2-1 West Ham.
Okay, Phil.
Totally agree with Matt there. I'll probably go 0-0 on that one. I think it'll be a really tough match. So 0-0 for me.
Okay, Super Kev.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. West Ham are just gonna shade it 2-1. Same score as Matty.
Okay, I've got Palace to win 2-1. Just fancy there on a run. West Ham are struggling a little bit. Sam's gone 2-1 to West Ham. Danny's gone 3-2 to West Ham. Scotty's taken a 1-1 draw. And Jace has taken 2-1 to West Ham as well. Okay, big game. If it goes ahead, I believe it's still on as this show is on. But Chelsea-Liverpool, Matt.
Yeah.
I love the facials. I love the facials.
A lot of facials.
It's brilliant.
I'm either going 1-1. No, I'm going to go 1-1. I'm going to go 1-1.
Okay, Phil.
Me, Liverpool all the time. I think Liverpool are playing brilliant. Definitely 3-0 or 3-1.
Oh, wow.
It'll be close.
We need a definite score from you, Phil.
We need a definite arrow. 3-1. Okay, Super Kev.
Look, I've got to say, Chelsea are not playing well at all, and I think Liverpool have to win this game. This is a must-win game for both, but I think Liverpool will win the game. I think Liverpool win it 2-1.
Okay. I've got 2-0 to Liverpool. Sam's got 0-0. Danny's got 2-1 to Liverpool. Scotty's gone 2-0 to Chelsea. He's a blue, so good for him. Jace Edwards has gone 2-2 as well. Okay. What battle of the basement next? Leeds and Burnley, Matt. I hope they both get beat.
I think, to be honest, like I watched Burnley the other night, and I thought they would look really good. Leeds have been struggling recently, but so I think for that I'll go 1-1.
Okay, one's a piece, Phil.
Leeds 2-1 Burnley.
2-1 to Burnley.
2-1.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout. That Kev.
Sorry to the Leeds fans, but 2-1.
I'm gonna go draw. I'm gonna go 2 each.
Okay, I'll take that. I've gone 1-1. So has Samantha. Danny Kwang's taken 1-0 to Burnley. Scotty Shepherd's taken a 1-1 draw, as has Jace Edwards. Finally, for the weekend, Man United and Wolves, your old side.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to go for my old side on this one. I just think there's so much around United at the moment, and there's so much pressure and everything. I think they'll get the win, and I think it'll be a 2-0.
Okay, good stuff, Phil.
I agree there. 1-0 Man United.
1-0 to Man United. Kev?
3-1 Man U.
3-1 to Man United. Okay, I've got 2-1 to Man United. Samantha's taken 4-0 to Wolves. Obviously, not a Man United fan. Now, what I will say about our Samantha is she is two-time winner. So we'll give her that. Danny Kwang's taken 3-2 to Wolves. Scotty's taken 2-1 to Man United. And Jace Edwards has taken 2-1 to Man United. That's it. Brilliant. So all done and dusted there. All that remains is for me to wish everyone, again, a very happy new year. Enjoy what football is on. Thanks to the boys. Phil, we hope to see you soon in Dubai. Let us know if you're coming out. We'll get something arranged at the Irish Village.
Love to.
At the Irish Village. Please say hello to Pete for me as well. Give him my best.
I'll be down. I'll be down this afternoon, team.
Okay, great stuff.
So I will do. Pete.
Give him my best. Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Absolutely fantastic. All we ask, gents, is that you come back on later in the year and rejoin us. Kev, I will be in touch with you, no doubt, via the WhatsApp for the scores. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Have a great Super Saturday. And we'll